Hey, what's happening, everybody? Coach Carroll here. This is season number 2 of the Sales Factory. Episode number 1. Figured we'd start this thing off fresh on January. I know a lot of you probably hungover, but I got my man Tyler Harris with me. We're going to bring him on here in a second. But first, a little housekeeping stuff. Make sure you guys have liked the Coach Carroll page here. And listen, Facebook is over-indexing on personal profiles, so you're not going to see as many of my posts. So what I need you to do is go to the top and then click see first. That'll make sure that when my content gets put out there, you guys will see that stuff first. And as always, you can check out all the social media channels, hashtag Coach Carroll. Now, I was doing some digging here over the past week or so, checking out some of my audience insights. And if you're growing a Facebook page, you definitely want to check out Audience Insights because it's one of the most underutilized tools that page moderators would use. So as I was looking through this thing, I was checking out the affinity, and that is basically what the score is on how likely you guys are as my fans to like somebody else. And this guy Tyler Harris popped up. Had never seen his stuff before, but after a quick little glance, man, we're both hustlers. We both kind of have our own entrepreneurial spirit, but we're trying to change the game for other entrepreneurs. So I'm really excited to have Tyler on. I'm going to bring him on real quick, and we'll get this thing started here. All right, Tyler, you're with us, man. Welcome to the Sales Factory.
Man, I am glad to be here with you, Coach Carroll. And I've got a Sales Wolves podcast, so I'm like a sales wolf inside the Sales Factory now.
That's it, man.
That's a good thing.
You know, I checked that out. I saw that you had a podcast going on, so we'll and that's the Sales Wolf podcast, right? So we want to make sure that everybody goes and checks that out. But man, let's just get this thing hopping right out the gate. Tyler, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my name is Tyler Harris, and before I get started, man, I just want to thank you for your time and allowing me to be on here. It's always refreshing to see someone that, oh man, you just spoke to my heart right there with the water. I was about to say it's refreshing to see someone that's willing to put hustle on their T-shirt, but then when you just drank out of a gallon jug, that just made me even more happy just then, because that is exactly me to a T. But I live here in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm in sales, but I do a lot of different things. And so my story kind of goes back really 4 years ago. Been in sales all my life. I was a financial advisor right out of school. Then from sales job to sales job, just not really finding anything that I was passionate about, nothing that I could really go all in at. And that resulted in me losing jobs, quitting jobs, just the same old story. Went through a really difficult divorce, a really bad termination from a job, and was in a downward spiral, was in a really, really bad place. And this was about right at coming up on 4 years ago. And I met some guys that came into my life, some mentors, and they just started pouring into me, kind of believed more in me than at that time I believed in myself, pouring in confidence and affirmation, and plugged me into a system that they had been in the process of creating with a business that they had just recently launched. And from there, just started waging war on personal change for myself. Just finally took a look in the mirror and was like, you know what? You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and it's all your fault. All the good stuff, all the bad stuff, everything that had happened to me in my life, everything that I had done in my life, that all of that was a result of me, and that the encouragement there was if I got myself into the situation that I was in, then I could get myself out of it. So literally over the last 3.5, 4 years, I went from being in that position, which was, depressed, broke, in debt, out of shape, you name it, I was it, to that very next 12 months, made over $300,000 in commission. The next 12 months after that, made $450,000. This year, over $650,000, which brings me to today. And what I've done over the last 12 months was going through this transformation over 3 years. I wasn't documenting it the first 2. Yeah. And what I knew was that was a mistake. But part of it was I didn't want to really get out there on a public platform and talk before I had accomplished something. Right. And so this last 12 months really stemming from a conversation that I had with Gary Vaynerchuk. It's the reason why I've got 300 Gary V books behind me. But I was sitting down with Gary Vaynerchuk and Andy Frisella at the launch of this book, the Ask Gary V book.
I'll say, man, you even got that Andy Frisella look going on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we were sat down with them. We paid for this VIP deal to talk with them for an hour. It was me and 5 other people. And we ended up sitting there for over 3 hours till like 2 o'clock in the morning talking with Andy and Gary. And I explained kind of this transformation that I've been through over the last few years. And talking with Gary, Gary was like, man, you're just looking for permission. You're looking for permission to put your stuff out there. And what I realized was the reason I was looking for permission is because of all the noise out on social media, all the stuff that people were posting, whether it be fake or whether they be at an actual just whole nother level. But I was like, who am I to go out there and put my content out there when there's so much noise? And he just looked at me. He was like, hey, are you going to be on the road another 200 plus years next year? I'm like, yeah, probably so. He's like, are you going to sell another 2,000 plus life insurance policies by yourself next year? I'm like, that's the plan. He's like, you've got to document it. You've got to start putting it out there on social media because someone is going to receive it. Someone's going to get benefit from it and get value from it. And so that's what I started doing January of 2017. It was like January 11th on the dot was when I first made my first post on my page and just really started going at it with the intention of providing value, trying to make an impact with zero expectation of anything in return. I don't sell anything through my social media whatsoever. And it is my way of paying it forward from what those mentors did for me. And try to do that for somebody else because there's so many people out there right now that are struggling just like I was, that if I can be just that little spark that helps them kind of get over the hump and get through the struggle that they're going through, that's what I want to do. And so started doing that January of this year, built over 100,000 likes on my Facebook page, really growing the Instagram right now, created a motivation brand called the Motivation Kings. It's got like 870,000 likes on Facebook and pretty big on Instagram, and then built our company page. So went from literally zero reach on social media to now I've had a weekly reach here recently of over 49 million on social media. So just nice, all of that stuff culminating into this year where we're really taking it to a complete another level, man. Starting a daily vlog. So if you think like Daily V style with Gary Vaynerchuk. So here, come over here, TJ. So if you see this guy in the background kind of floating around, I brought on a videographer that's following me around 24/7. That's this guy right here. His name's TJ. He just so happens to look. He looks just like Milli Vanilli. Exactly. So he's going to be following me 24/7. We're actually, it's very, very cool to be on here right now because we're launching the first episode as soon as I get off of this live broadcast. So I'm super excited about that. Also launching a second podcast as well called The Breadwinner. So the vlog is called The Daily Bread. The new podcast is called Breadwinner Podcast, where we're doing quick interviews with people all over the world, and just excited about putting it on a whole nother platform for providing value. Like it's legitimately all I'm about. My career, I've got that. So like, I don't need somebody's money to provide them advice. I don't need someone's money to go and help them. I just want to do that because it's the right thing to do. So
cool, man. You talk about mentors. That was really one of the things that I was fortunate enough to happen early on. My audience knows, but I'll share with you. I started my first business in high school, started with $300, started a lawn care company, and subsequently over the years grew to over $3 million in revenue. And, I was fortunate enough to use social media, I graduated high school in 2007, 2008, 2009, I found guys on YouTube that were able to be mentors to me, and even my State Farm agent. I love that you said insurance. Through my ad agency, we work with a lot of insurance agents, but my State Farm agent was one of my mentors early on. And man, just tell people how important that is, because a lot of my audience they're asking for that permission, and I see that a lot, and I think that stems in not having that mentor that gives you that confidence, because now you've got that source of knowledge. Would you agree with that?
I believe it 100%. I mean, mentors, there's not a single successful person out there that won't tell you that a strategic mentor at the right time was the key to their success. One big thing that I'm so against, I cannot stand the phrase self-made man, self-made millionaire, self-made whatever, because it does not exist. Like, the fact of saying someone is self-made is just completely disrespectful to every single person, whether good or bad influence that they were, but they made you into who you are today.
In my early 20s, that was one of my biggest challenges, right? Because I had that on my Instagram for a while. I was like, self-made millionaire. I remember, I remember that, and it's so funny that in my early 20s, I was so egotistical because everything I was doing it for ego and to try to make myself look better. And it wasn't until I really found mentors that taught me how to meditate and how to really start diving deep and stop looking external and start looking internal that I realized, I'm good enough. Whoever I am at this point right now is good enough for the world. And, I'm with you, man. Now that I see that on people, it's like, because I know where they're at in their personal journey. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs don't get, man, is that you got external, right? That business and for you, it's selling insurance. For me, it was mowing grass and now the ad agency. And I've done over 12 M&A deals. But you have to understand that as an entrepreneur, which to my audience is, you're going to go through a stage of figuring out your external environment. But man, when you get to that level that you start looking back internal, and I'm hearing that from you. That's why you're doing what you're doing, because it's like, it's not about the money. You've got that set up. It's about what the fuck kind of legacy am I going to be leaving, and how do I want people to remember by? And for me, it sounds like just in a couple seconds we've been talking, it's more than just giving somebody that security of having life insurance. You want to leave that legacy. Am I right?
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, self-awareness, it's become cliche this past year, but it's everything to me. Like, I have a whole business called the Self-Awareness Project that I'm putting together right now. Like, the self-awareness for me, learning to finally figuring out who I really, really am. Not who I am, the business person, not who I am, the sales guy, not who I am, the husband. Like, who am I really? Like that to me was key moving forward. And I think something that for me was huge in what I want to get across to people now in 2018 is that, like, my struggles that I had, like, that made me who I am today. So I am so incredibly grateful for the struggles that I went through, because I would not be the husband I am, the father I am, the business person I am, had I not gone through that. But the problem is, we don't typically realize that until it's hindsight. Like, we don't realize till after the struggle and making it through to the other side of it, that it was the struggle that actually grew us into who we were. So, like, the encouragement I want to get out to people now is those that are going through it, those that are in the middle of the struggle, to be able to just make that mental switch and realize that, okay, this sucks right now, but there is a blessing on the other side of it. And I'm not going to get to that blessing until I get through this and grow into the person that can receive it. Like, that's my focus right now, is for people to learn, because not everybody has struggles, and my struggles may pale in comparison to the struggles that I've interviewed other people that, grew up with their parents in prison or never having any, father figure, things like that.
Exactly. That's what I've learned, is that we're always in the middle. There's always somebody that's got it better, and there's always somebody that's got it worse, right? Like, there's animals out there that are bigger than humans, but there's animals that are smaller. But if you're an ant, right, there's microorganisms that are even smaller than you, and then there's fucking humans that just step on you one day. So goes life. And, to that point of, like, that struggle, I made a post the other day that talked about this, that, 2017 was a motherfucker for me, man. I came into it riding high on the horse. Everything was going great. I wind up having a business deal where I lost $500,000 in real estate. That really set me back, in the middle of a lawsuit, like, just a lot of shit, man. And there was times where I came home in the middle of the week and I would just look at my girlfriend and just start crying, because I was just like, the pressure coming in on me. I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can take anymore. And I think when people are going through that, if you can find it in you to take 5 seconds, and Tony comes from Tony Robbins, what I learned from him is saying, not what is life doing to me, but what is it doing for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is it giving me this shit sandwich right now? There's something I'm supposed to learn, and I'm supposed to come out on the backside of this thing with more knowledge and more heart. What is that? And I think that it's so tough, man. And I mean, you know, you say like going through that struggle, but like, brother, you've been doing this a long time, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. Like, as soon as you get on the back end of that struggle, you're like, fuck, I won't do that again. But then you step in the next pile of dog shit.
Yeah, and it's preparing you for the next one that's going to be bigger and badder. Like that, the things that you go through, like the things that you went through this year, probably would have crippled you 10 years ago. Crippled you. But you made it through it. Like that's the thing. And there'll be something that comes along 10 years from now that 2017 prepared you to be able to handle. Like that, it's all. I'm just a huge believer that everything happens for a reason. As cliche as it sounds, like it's just true. And so if we believe it's true, then when you're going through it, you can be like, all right, there is a purpose for this pain right now. There's got to be, and it may not make sense right now. It may not make sense some months from now. It may be 20 years from now that you get that aha moment, like, crap, now I remember why I went through that one lawsuit. Now I remember why I learned that one specific part of that one loss, because it's coming back up again and I'm able to avoid it. Like there's purpose for everything, man. But when people are in the middle of it, it's so hard to hear that. I'm super empathetic to that. Like I understand that. Like when I tell someone that's in the middle of it, like, hey man, like one day this is all going to make sense. They're like, screw you. Like I get that, you know, but it doesn't make it any less true. It doesn't make it any less true.
And you know, and I think that's something that if I look back on, you know, past decade of my mistakes, one of my biggest regrets, right, is that I didn't build my business early on as lifelong relationships, right? Like all my goals were income related. It was how much money can I make this year, this quarter. It wasn't anything that was built on a solid foundation, right? Like I was like trying to build a sandcastle basically versus building a high rise made of concrete and steel. Can you talk a little bit to the audience about, you know, early on in your career, you know, what do you think is that biggest mistake that you made?
That's a great question. My answer probably is similar to what you just said. I mean, I was very much so. I went to this Take Ownership Mastermind up in Newark a couple of weekends ago. It was with Gerard Adams and Eric Thomas and a couple of other people that spoke. And Eric Thomas, I believe it was one day, or it may actually have been his business partner, CJ, who was incredible, by the way. This guy, CJ, runs all the business behind the scenes. He doesn't even have a Facebook page. He doesn't have an Instagram profile. You know this guy? You know CJ?
Oh, and I saw him in Indianapolis. I went to one of these things, and I talked to CJ afterwards, and I was like, hey, man, you know, I want to get you or somebody from the team on the Sales Factory. He's like, cool, hit me up. And then I try to go find the guy, and he's like non-existent.
Can't find it. It's crazy. But I'm telling you, his talk that he gave was probably the most impactful of the whole event. Like blew my mind. He is just so relatable and just a good dude. I think it was him that he said, are you chasing hustle or are you chasing your gifts? And that for me was so interesting because he didn't say chasing passion. He said chasing gifts. And what I feel like I've been trying to do for the last 10 years is trying to chase and figure out what I'm passionate about. But passion will go up and down. Like you can get passionate about something. You can lose passion in something, but are you chasing your gifts? Like your gifts as in like the things that you were born, the abilities that like the stuff that's easy for you that's not easy for other people, like your natural gifts. And I really took a step back and I was like, man, I'm not doing that. Like I was trying to figure out like, what am I passionate about? Because maybe my passion would be like where my purpose was. But what I really needed to figure out, like, what are truly the things that I'm gifted at, and then just start creating an infrastructure around me to where I can just do those things more and more and more and more and more, and then the money will follow. Like, and the passion will follow. Like, you keep hearing these passions, like this big hot word, like buzzword lately. It's just like, what are you passionate about? Like, you know, do whatever you enjoy doing, or you know, you'll never work a day in your life, all that stuff like that. And for me, it was just like this chasing after, like trying to figure out what am I passionate about, like what am I supposed to be doing, but now like my focus is like what am I actually gifted at, and like some of those gifts are things to me right now that don't make any sense in regards to my personal business. Like writing for me is like a gift, but I don't even do it at all. But I know I'm
lucky
gifted.
for you, man. I'm about as dyslexic as a upside down dictionary. I don't know, man. But I get exactly where you're coming from, man. That's one of those things that a lot of times, again, I fucked up in the beginning because I just did it for the money. Like my story, I turned down those I had football scholarships. My dad was he was a garbage man, and then he worked at the dog kennel he was like a dog catcher, and then he went, city of Indianapolis for 30 years, like did that traditional route, and I didn't have a lot of help, so it was like, here I am coming up my senior year of high school, and it's like I'm working 3 part-time jobs. I've started mowing grass. I'm co-oping for myself. I'm making like shit, man, like $600-700 a week at 18 years old, and I'm like, all I can see is I'm gonna go away to college, man, and it's gonna be gone. And I hate that, because what wound up happening was I did it for the money. I chased it for the money, and it wasn't necessarily what I was gifted at. And that's why I always tell people, I'm an entrepreneur, like by necessity, but like I like speaking and inspiring other entrepreneurs. Like that's all. Well, my big thing is like when I'm not working on my business, I'm helping other entrepreneurs come up, because I think that's my gift to help people connect with people. And what you said about making sure that you're focused on that passion, man, passion's going to come and go, right? Like there's a whole bunch of fucking people that's real passionate about working out for the next 30 days.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But come July, it's gone. So you have to watch out, man. Passion's tricky, but like and again, it goes back to that self-awareness and figuring out who you are. And I love getting tactical, man. Like I got a series on YouTube called Tactical Grind. Here's something for the listeners right now, and share this out, by the way, if you're digging what we're dropping. A good way to figure out what your gift is if you have that relationship, go talk to your mom, go talk to your dad, go talk to your grandparents, and ask them, so what was I really good at as a little kid? Because I think that shit gets, we get it, like, you could say you want to be an astronaut when you're little, right? And everyone's like, yeah, little Jimmy, go be an astronaut, right? But then like by 9th grade and 10th grade, like, hey, that fucking astronaut shit needs to get knocked off. What are you going to do for a job? So you have to, I think if you can really dive back down in, I was always creative, drew a lot. And so that's why I love doing stuff like this and making content, because it's just something that I'm a creative person. But yeah, man, I think that's good shit right there.
I'm the same way, man. Like, and we're all creators. Like, we're all creators in the beginning, and there's some point in every childhood where some people like continue doing that, and some people go on this other path of like the normal route of society. But like I can tell you, in like the last 3 days, just creating this new daily vlog, and like we literally, like I wrote like the intro song. I went into a recording studio and rapped it. Like I literally was rapping in a recording studio 2 days ago, and it was the funnest day of my entire life. And like, like going in through, like I'm sitting here right now, it's New Year's Day. I'm sitting here in my office with TJ, and we're like getting all the fine little details of this video work for this first episode to go out. Like the creative side, like I like woke up this morning in a dead sprint to get ready to do this. And like, that's what it's all about, man. I love it.
Yeah. I think too, is like people have to realize that what our species is, right? Like we're human beings. And that's one of the really cool things about being a human, is that we have that ability to be creative. Like if you just want to be logical, like, Gary says binary ones and zeros, like if you want to be that logical thinker, man, which is really what society pushes us to do.
Yeah.
A robot can do that. A robot can manage input output. It's the creativity. And that's why there's like this big like thing with automation, right? Like the robots are going to take our jobs. And it's like, as long as you can be creative, nothing's ever going to take your job, because only you have the ideas in your mind. Like, Tyler, your ideas are completely different than mine. Mine's different than, the 14, 15 people we got watching this, and all the people that will watch it on the replay. But I challenge you to really dig deep, man, and find that creativity. If you're watching this right now, figure out what you're good at. I tell my team that all the time. Like, DJ has to focus on what only DJ can do. And I need to stop doing all the other shit. And then like my office manager, I need to, like, she's really, really good at managing our residential clients and building those relationships. Like I just need her to do that and nothing else. We're like outsourcing a bunch of shit this year because that's what she's really. It's a superpower. You got to find your superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about building that infrastructure, and that's what you've done. Like you're building that infrastructure to where you can go be who you are. Like for me, like customer service, for me, like when I make a sale, like I'm like, I don't want to ever see you ever again. Like and it's bad, but it's just like it sounds bad, but like I've just realized that like not in that form, but like that's literally what I do in my brain. It's like as soon as the sales made, I shut off. So I have someone else that handles the customer service side now. I'm like, it's just those little things. Like that's the best part about self-awareness is not just figuring out who you are, but it's figuring out how others perceive you. Like that was the biggest part that I found about it. It was like, I may do something that when I say it, I think it's being portrayed this way, but the other person on the other end, they're like, no, I thought you were a dick. And I'm like, I thought it was being nice. Like, what do you mean? But then being able to adjust, obviously that's the key, is to be able to actually care what the other person thinks and then be able to adjust accordingly. And that's the only way you're going to be able to build real meaningful relationships, because there's no better form of respect than actually like learning how someone perceives you and then adjusting accordingly so they don't think those things anymore. Like that's at the end of the day what it's all about.
Yeah, man, for sure. So tell us, are you married? You got kids? What's up with that?
I'm married. Yeah, been married for 3 years. Have a 16-month-old. So that is like changing everything. Like going from crawling to like a full sprint. Like before I came to the office here, just like running around the house, like trying to grab her up. And man, that was one cool thing I mentioned that Eric Thomas said at the conference that really, really, really hit me a couple weekends ago. He talked about all these, all this controversy coming out in the news lately about all these different people like doing these terrible things, rape and like, just misconduct in the workplace, like all this stuff that's coming out about these people. And he was like, man, he is so funny because he was referring to his wife as a gorilla. And which I thought was so funny, but it's like her spirit animal. He's like, she's a gorilla. Like, she's just like, ugh. But he kept on saying that. He's like, now, like if something came out about me like that, he's like, my wife, he's like, she'll be fine. He's like, she'll be hurt, but she'll get over it. She'll find somebody else and she'll be fine. She'll live a great life. He's like, but my daughter, how am I going to explain that to my daughter? Like how are these stories going to come out about me? And then I'm going to go to my 15-year-old. And in my case, my 16-month-old, like as she grows up, like how am I going to explain that? And man, like for me, like having a child, and especially having a daughter, like a son is a little bit different, but like having a daughter for me has like changed my outlook on everything. It's like this just put this whole new like lens on the way I view the world and how I view myself through her. And like, man, that's why I've just doubled and tripled down on all the stuff I'm doing on social media, because it's so intriguing to me to know that like she'll be able to watch this one day when she's 30. Like she'll be able to watch this interview that we're having right now of me talking about her when she's 20 years old. Like that's crazy. And like there's like you hear Gary Vee talk about like the fact that there could be some virtual or augmented reality where she could like literally be sitting right next to me in this room as we're having this conversation in 10, 15 years. And that's the coolest thing to me about creating a brand online and on social media is that this content, like it's there forever. And a lot of what I do, like I really like legitimately spent over 200 nights on the road in a hotel last year for 3 years in a row. Like I think last year, 2016 was like 238 nights in a hotel. So I'm gone a lot. And I get a lot of flack from people about that now that I do have a child. But I explained to them this, like number one, it's my wife's very independent. Like that's the only way I can do it is because she's super strong and independent. And I leave Sunday night late or early Monday morning. I'm back Thursday. And it's just part of our routine now. But number two, having a 15-month-old, yes, a 15-month-old needs their father. But what they really need is like sleep, food, go to the bathroom, that kind of stuff. Who really needs their father is a 15-year-old or a 8-year-old. Yeah. And what can I do over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years going all in on what I'm doing to provide the most incredible life for her ever, to where I'm more flexible when she really, really needs me. That I can be really all in at that point. So man, just having a child, like it just changed everything for me. It's just in a good way. Yeah.
No, and I agree with that 100%, man. That's back to what you said, like with the technology. My buddy, one of my buddies I talk to often is you always say, you can have a 5-minute conversation that'll touch one person, or you can do a 5-minute video that'll touch 50,000. And, I think guys like you and I that, we're in the early stages of this, man, is to like come back and look. And I've even got stuff now because I've been putting videos out since, I think I did my first one like 2013, 2014. Wow. And to go back and see who I was then to who I am now, to be able to see the growth. It's something that if I'm ever having a down day, man, I just go watch one of my old videos and I'm like, fuck, I'm glad I'm not that guy anymore. Yeah. And it just perpetuates you to the next level.
Absolutely. I've got videos. Yeah, go ahead.
So what's up with the books behind you, man? I'm going to ask. You said they were Gary Vee books. So was it?
Yeah. So no, I was just at that Ask Gary Vee book launch event. We paid for this VIP deal to get to meet with him and Andy afterwards. And, when these guys when they go on these big launch tours of these books, the ticket sales coincide with a certain number of books in order to get them, ranked and all the top seller, all that stuff. So me and my two business partners went, and we ended up getting 750 Ask Gary Vee books. Like, it literally showed up in like 48 boxes that were in my basement forever. And so I give them out a lot. And I actually sent Gerard Adams 300 of them to use for that event a couple weekends ago. And I was just like, man, just take these. And, his whole founders community that he's created up there, which is incredible. I'm super impressed with what he's doing, just giving back to the inner city of Newark. I was just like, man, just take these books and just do whatever you want with them. But quite frankly, it's one of the best books I've ever read because I've got crazy ADD. And the way this book format is Q&A, it's like perfect for me. Like, if I read a regular book, which I don't read often, I listen. But if I'm reading a book, like, I'll get done with 2 pages and I'm like, what the heck did I just read? But when I read this book, it's like, here's this question, like, how do I build a following using hashtags on Instagram? Boom, answer. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I know what I just read because the way they section it out into chapters, like, it's perfect format for someone with ADD like me. So I just love the book. So
while we're on the topic of books, I'm just looking at my notes here. While we're on the topic of books, what are kind of like your top 5, sales books? Because I mainly help people with sales more than anything because I truly, I'm all about personal development, but I truly believe that learning to sell isn't a professional skill. It's actually a personal skill and personal development. So what would be, maybe your top 2, 3, 4, 5 books as a sales guy that you would recommend to people?
Yeah, I'm just looking around my office to see the ones I've read recently. One of my favorite books is The 4 Agreements. That's one that we've recently been going through. Have you read The 4 Agreements? That's this one right here. That one. Dude, this one's incredible. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz, The 4 Agreements. It's a really good book. It's a quick read, as you can see, like on these words, like the pages are super short. One of these. So the first one is be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. So when you say be impeccable with your word, a lot of people would think that that's like doing what you say you're going to do. But it's more of the words that you say to yourself, the things that you tell yourself. Like earlier when we were trying to get this thing up, I could easily say to myself, like, oh, I never could figure out freaking technology. Like, why? Like, every time I try to do something on the computer, like, I never can figure it out. Like, those words that I'm telling myself over and over and over like that are bad. Obviously, it's negative. So that's one book. The One Thing, it's a good one recently.
One Thing's a good one. Yep.
I mean, I'm a Good to Great fan, but like I'm such a huge Gary Vaynerchuk fan. So like jab, right hook in a sales world. People in sales become so transactional in most. We got The One Thing right here. Sales become so transactional in most careers that if you really, really take the jab, right hook, the provide value, and then approach to your sales career, it will change everything. It will change your relationships. It will make your transactional based sales, more long-term value based sales. And to me, there's so many people that disregard the long-term value of a customer or a client for that quick, I need to hit this quota this month, I need to do whatever I need to do to get this guy to sign today, versus what is the long-term value of having this client for the next 20 years and the referrals that I'll get from that client and all that. That jab, 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 right hook, when you embody that, it becomes almost humorous when you're approached by other people that aren't jabbing first, like that aren't providing any value on the front end, that like the very first words out of their mouth are like, hey, would you do that? Like, you're like, what? Like, who are you? Like, like it's so funny to me. And when you're looking at building relationships, especially through social media, that's huge. Like to be able to actually provide value in a sales aspect, to be able to figure out like what is of actual value to someone, not just like providing value isn't like, hey, here's a free mug, or here's a pin, here's a stress ball. Like that's not providing value. Providing value is like figuring out like what's in it for that person, like what's that person looking for in return, and like just skewing your entire process towards the value from your customer. That to me is huge. And then the thank you economy that he has, Crush It, was huge. He's coming out with a new one, Crushing It. This is going to be awesome because it's basically all the people that read Crush It and actually put it into work. And I'm looking forward to that one for sure. So Gary, I'm a huge Gary Vaynerchuk fan.
Yeah, man, that's I tell people because I ran my first Facebook in 2013, and we actually when Easy Pro was growing, 2007 I started in high school, got to 2013, and I'm like, man, this social media shit's gonna be huge, right? And at the time I'm 22, 23, so I grew up with it, and I'm going to these businesses and they're just not buying it. They're like, that's a fucking ad, right? It was still in the bad stage. And I remember going, all right, well, at the time it was bottom line marketing, right? And so I was like, I'll do postcards and business cards and shit. I was like, fuck, there's no money in this. I'm just going to keep my power washing lawn care business. So kind of shoved it away. And now, I literally took Easy Pro, my power washing company, grew the revenue 158%, lowered our marketing expenses 43% by moving all of our marketing dollars to Facebook ads over the past 2 years. And so now people are like, oh shit, this stuff works. And I'm like, I've been trying to tell you, but that jab, 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 right hook, it completely changed the way I even do my Facebook ads now, right? Like I just have ongoing campaigns that we just drop ads into that aren't even asking for anything. It's just like, here's my shit, right? Here's my free stuff. Because it builds that value. Like I said earlier, my biggest regret early on was just not building those lifelong relationships. And so in one of my vlogs, I talk about the test to see how committed you are to lifelong relationship with your clients is if you open up your customer database and you don't have name, phone number, mailing address, and email address for every single contact, you're not committed to it. Because that is where it's like I can stay in front of those people. So, and for those of you, if you're interested in checking that out, you can just text SEU to 25827. The vlog's on there. You guys download the app that'll give you the Sales Excellence University app. You guys can check that out as well. So, awesome. So let me ask you this, Tyler. Been in business, been doing your thing. You're going forward. Where do you see yourself in 20 years, man?
That right now is so difficult to answer because it is so rapidly changing. But what I can tell you is just over the last few days of the process of putting together this daily vlog, the process of putting together this new podcast, the growth and engagement of the social media over the last year, it doesn't take getting a lot of messages from someone that are life-changing on Facebook or on Instagram for you to really realize what an impact you can make just through this platform. It blew my mind. It was early on even. There was one message that I got that I don't even really talk about health and fitness that much, but there was a video that the guy saw of me meal prepping, prepping my food for the week because I'm on the road every week and I prep all my meals. Now I have a meal prep company that I buy the meals from. But I used to prep them all myself. And this guy literally started doing that. I don't know this guy. He's like in New Jersey. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, he's sending me this email like 4 months later about how he's off insulin. He no longer has diabetes. And it was because this one little part of a video where he saw me prepping my meals and talking about like certain ways to eat right. And I'm like, what? Like, it's just crazy. And then other like life changing, like, hey, you said this. It hit me at the exact right time. And now I've made this change, and this change. Now all these things have happened. Like, getting those types of messages, people like ask, like, when they talk about Gary, like, is this guy on drugs? Like, what kind of drugs is this dude taking to be so like up here all the time? Well,
yeah.
Imagine getting those emails times 1,000 every single day.
Yeah,
you talk about purpose and fulfillment, like it's insane. So like moving forward, like I see, number one, every business being a media company and having this whole social media, having videographers and graphic designers and all the people that are doing all the social content and creating a story around your business. Like I see that in the very near future just becoming very, 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 very commonplace. But me trying to just push the boundaries on that for myself. This daily vlog, like it's just starting. Like literally we're launching the first episode this afternoon. But from here forward, like every day, this dude is going to be following me with a camera and we're going to get a 24-hour turnaround on the vlog, on the videos every single day for the next 6 months. Like that to me is terrifying, but it's like so exciting because just in the first like day or two, the amount of conversations that I've been having with someone in just like that 10-second little nugget that I was like, man, that was unbelievable. And then like realizing that this dude was sitting right here with a camera and being like, how incredible is it that me and this guy in this phone conversation, we just captured that on film. Like it's incredible. Man. And so moving forward, like 20 years from now, I just want to be known as someone that created so much disproportionate value in other people's lives and that didn't do it transactionally, like didn't do it and then asking for something, just like did it because he could do it. Like my whole thing is like, I make my money with my career and I'm not sleeping so that I can do the other stuff on top of it. The majority of people are doing the stuff and providing value to earn income. Yeah. I'm earning income so that I can do this stuff on top of it. And as that progresses and the following gets to be hundreds of thousands and millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions, I don't know if that turns into speaking because I don't know if I'm that guy. I don't know if it turns into books because I don't know if I'm that guy. But what I know is that the focus will always be value first and then the money will always follow. Like if I can just focus all of my energy on Tuesday, tomorrow at 6 p.m., I'm meeting a lady named Ivy. She lives in Alabama. She's driving 2 hours to meet with me in Atlanta when I get out of my meetings because she wants to start a business based around or an organization based around substance abuse rehabilitation. She sent me a message one day and was like, I would love to just sit down and chat with you about it. I'm like, perfect, let's do it. When? She's like, oh my gosh, great. I'm about 2 hours from you. I'm like, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Is there any way you could do that? Yes, I'll do it. Perfect. So I'm talking about her on a Facebook Live the next night. She messaged me and she's like, my kids at home were just like cheering when we heard my mom's name, on this video. She's like, I'm so excited to be meeting with you on Tuesday. And she's like, sent me over all the stuff to review beforehand. And I'm going to sit down with her for probably at least an hour and just give her my input on what she should do and how she should move forward with this. And I don't want anything from her. Like, I just want her to go do it. Like, I want her to go be successful and do it. And like, literally the day before Christmas, she was texting me. She sent me a Facebook message. She's like, I'm so excited about meeting with you on Tuesday. This is so great. She's like, we've sacrificed so much. Like my kids, we're not doing Christmas this year, but they understand that like this is for the longer term vision of what we're trying to do. We're going to go to this other rehab facility and we're going to serve them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to hang out with them and have fun that way. And like the ability for me, like literally I was just like, hey, by the way, I need your cell phone number. Hoping that she would think it was for, to be able to contact her that day. And I immediately went on PayPal and PayPal just sent her some money for her kids to go buy some gifts for her own kids. I'm like, get your kids something special tomorrow. Like, here's some money to do that. And she was just like, whoa. She's like, that's not why I was telling you like that we weren't doing Christmas. I was telling you that because because we're committed to this long term. I'm like, that's fine. And I don't want anything from you. Like, I just think you're doing an incredible thing and you should be rewarded by your intent, and just to be able to do that stuff all day long and never caring if anything happens in return, just knowing that like karma is practical, like it just is. Like the universe will never be indebted to you ever. The universe, it's a key thing. Like the universe will never be indebted to any person.
Yep.
So if you just
always in balance.
It's always in balance. And so if you just go out there and you're just putting it out, incredible things are going to happen. And for me to tell you what that looks like 20 years from now, I have no earthly idea. But all I know is if I can stay on this course and just keep doing the right thing because it's the right thing, then it's going to be freaking incredible.
Yeah, man. Oh, dude, I love it. How can people, I know we'll wrap up here. We got a couple minutes left. How can people find you? I know I tagged your page here in the comments. You guys can check in the comments here. Make sure you go like Tyler's page, and so you guys can stay in touch with him. But it's Instagram as well, and then drop the podcast again.
Yeah, so everything is at Tyler Harris page. The podcasts have the Sales Wolves podcast, so you can find that on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, all that. And it is a sales podcast. That's good for your audience. It is
the
number one. Yeah, it's for support and appreciation for salespeople, but we think everybody's a salesperson at the end of the day. Like at the end of the day, you're either selling yourself to do something or you're selling others on you every single day. So we get more broad than just like tactical sales tips. But we've been doing some incredible interviews on that podcast lately. We've had some really, really good people on the show. So that's something that people could check out. But then this new daily vlog that we're doing is called The Daily Bread. It's going to be on my page. So it's going to be on my Facebook page and on YouTube if they just search The Daily Bread. Then the new podcast is called Breadwinners. It's going to be on iTunes. It's called the Breadwinner Podcast.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, make sure everybody you go check Tyler out. Again, I found you by checking out the back end of the page, just looking at our audience insight, and the affinity score was like 2,000x. So
I didn't even know that existed. So I can't wait to look at that.
Yeah, man. So I can help you out with that if you guys want to look at that. That'll help you. Especially you've got. I mean, I'm only at like 8,500. I'm eager to hear how you grew your page, to 100,000 in a year, man. Like that's crazy. Yeah. But if you go check out that audience insight, the affinity was like 2,000. I was like, all right, let's just see how badass these robots at Zucks God really are. And I think, man, I love having you on the podcast today on the Sales Factory, especially to kick off season 2. Make sure you guys are following. What we're gonna do is the podcast, so that everyone knows, it's going to just continually be, following Gary Vee's footsteps, that audio experience, because man, like the guy is a game changer. And I tell everybody this, that I'm in the advertising world now. People are like, you follow Gary Vee, you're hacking off the hen. And I'm like, motherfucker, you think when Michael Jordan was in his prime, everybody in the NBA wasn't watching him? Like, I really do. I'll give him those daps that I think that he is kind of that forethought leader in the advertising world. But that being said, you guys check it out on all the podcasts. I have more stuff rolling out. Again, make sure you hit that follow and then see first right here on Facebook, because they're over-indexing on pages now on the personal side. I think I read something the other day that only like 2.5% of my audience is going to see stuff organic in 2018. So this means guys like Tyler I got to give more money to Zucks to get our message out there. But Tyler, thanks again for coming on, man. Really appreciate you being here in the Sales Factory, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you, man.
All right, dude. All right, guys, so make sure that you share this out. If you love the broadcast, leave me a comment below. If you have a person that you want to see come on the Sales Factory podcast, make sure to tag them below or send me a message. Again, I'm going to be dropping more audio-related stuff, but we're going to attempt to do is have a guest on every Monday right here so that you guys can get full of value out of the podcast. Appreciate your guys' attention. Thanks for following. Make sure you hit that share button, and we'll see you guys on the next one.